Will Ospreay, he goes all around the world, insane schedule, and every time, and I mean, one of the best wrestlers in the world, right? Which I realize is subjective, but to me, Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world, and I think that I fit right there with him in that branch.
They are one of the most acclaimed pro wrestlers in the world and have a big critically acclaimed match. I keep bringing that up because a lot of people are excited. Doesn't matter who you are, fan, insider, they're all looking forward to it. Bound for Glory, Speedball Mike Bailey, another epic confrontation with Will Ospreay. This is going to be streaming around the world. Get the info at impactwrestling.com. Tickets available in Chicago, Illinois. We've been here before, Mike, and we're here again. This is one of those matches, no matter where it was in Rev Pro, wherever it happened, this is a match that always seems to have something very special to it.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for all that, first of all. But yes, it absolutely was. This is going to be match number 5 between me and Will Ospreay. Our first one happened at PWG in 2016, and to see the difference between who we were then, he and I, and how we've grown and how we changed all the way to 2023, where this match happens once again in Impact, is just incredible.
How do you meet those expectations every time? More and more is expected from just you and him getting in the ring together.
I mean, it's not like any match. It's not like there's a build-up or an off-season, or it's not like this is MMA where we fight 3 times a year. Will Ospreay and I are both extremely active. We do this every weekend. We have to live up those expectations because we set those expectations, because he and I have spent our entire lives and career trying to have really, really good pro wrestling matches. And the reason those expectations are there is because we have proven time and time again that we have fantastic matches every single time we step in the ring.
Do you ever have anyone say that to you? Because you're a guy who has had a very odd trajectory in your career, and in this conversation there'll be some things I ask you about the challenges you've particularly faced. You have the name Speedball. You're a guy who's known for this incredibly daunting, high-impact, highly finessing style. No, for lack of a better phrase, Impact Wrestling. You're one of the big names there. And everything about Impact is known for the grit, inside the ring, bell to bell. Do you ever have maybe more an established name in the business say, hey, slow it down. You're going too hard. You're doing too this. I hear that so often with the generational differences in pro wrestling.
So when I started wrestling, I remember that was very much a thing, right? And I started wrestling in 2005, a very long time ago when I was very young, in Quebec, where honestly the level of professional wrestling, for the most part, of course there are some exceptions, was not very high. There was like no crossover between Quebec and the rest of the world until like Kevin Steen was faced Christopher Daniels in Quebec City, and that was like the first time in forever that there had been any kind of crossover between Quebec and the rest of the world. So that just like tells you how like insulated everything was. And I mean, I had a lot of guys who, in retrospect, were not very good telling me to slow it down. And like there was this huge disparity between me and my, other 15, 16, 17-year-old friends, and my brother, who was also wrestling at the time, who we loved watching the X Division. We loved watching all the, high-impact, action-packed stuff from Japan, and was like, we would much rather do this than what the old heads who had accomplished very little in their career at the time liked to do. So it's something I'd heard very often. And I mean, I think the slow it down kind of advice is not helpful, because I know wrestling needs to go fast. I like fast-paced wrestling. Of course, since then, like, there's tons of great wrestlers I've spoken to, and I've had tons of resources, and I've had, a lot of people give me way more in-depth advice than what was given to me when I started wrestling. But also, I have, worked very hard at my own style, and I understood what is wrong and the issues that come with, doing too much and having a high impact style, and I've really done a lot of work in curating my stunts, if that makes any sense, to make it something that is sustainable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to learn and adapt to it. You've had a lot of challenging experiences in wrestling, and you're an international wrestler, which creates a whole different set of challenges with extra travel. You know, I talk to guys that are just here in the Midwest where I'm in the States, like, oh, I want here, here, here. And then I talk to people from Canada, like, I want here, here, here. The heres are much longer between where they go and what they do. You had a challenge where there was a period of time where there was limitations on where you couldn't perform, just due to different issues with international visas and stuff like that. And that affected your ability to get exposure in the United States and a big chunk of North America. That was a long time of your career when people were calling you the next big thing. How much did that spark this big boom? Because you've been back now for a couple of years, able to perform anywhere with no limitations. What was that time like? And what is this time like now? And maybe what did you gain from that?
So yeah, you're alluding to the part of my career where I couldn't enter the United States, which lasted about 5 years. And I guess the ultimate question is, like, in retrospect, was that a good thing? Like, do you think that helped you out? Because it did force me to go and spend a lot of time in Japan. I was with DDT over there for, those 5 years, going back and forth between, Japan, Canada, Europe, and anywhere else I could go. And I think it's impossible to say ultimately whether that was a good thing or not, because I can see an alternative universe where I, got a very high-paying job wrestling in the United States in 2016 instead of not being able to enter the US anymore. But, ultimately, there's a lot of things that I ended up doing right, and I do think it shaped who I am as a professional wrestler, and obviously I am very proud of where I am, what I've accomplished, and I think it led me to joining Impact Wrestling in 2022, and I think my career right now is exactly where I've always wanted it to be.
Love it. Love and learn, man. Tell me about Impact Wrestling now, recently celebrating 1,000 episodes of Impact, which is just incredible. Quite historic. Impact is certainly cutting edge. Everyone keeps talking about the revival, the sense of just this is getting back to where it should have always been. What is the feeling in the Impact locker room, and what is the feeling for you right now in Impact?
Man, I think cutting edge is absolutely the right word. And there was always an attitude to Impact Wrestling that, of course, I've watched since I was, pretty young. And what drew me into wrestling... not what drew me into wrestling, because what drew me into wrestling is very different from what made me who I am as a professional wrestler. I'd sort of been watching wrestling for a long time when I first saw something like the X Division, and my vision then of who I would be as a professional wrestler became very different. And when I saw the guys that are in the X Division, that were in the X Division very early, like Amazing Red and AJ Styles, low-key Jerry Lynn, is when I was like, oh, this is exactly what I want to do. And at the time, they were absolutely at the forefront of professional wrestling. They were shaping the style that is probably the most popular style of wrestling right now. The X Division was. And I think that feeling is happening right now once again as Impact is growing and getting stronger, and the focus is on the guys that really put the work inside the ring. I mean, we had Josh Alexander, Alex Shelley, Steve Macklin as our most recent world champions, and those are guys that have put all the focus in their in-ring ability, and to see that mirroring in the X Division as well, where you can still to this day see the highest level of pro wrestling in the world. It's a great feeling to be a part of that. It feels like that's where the focus is, and that's what's moving us forward.
Now, I have to come back to Ospreay here. I'm not trying to bring up a sore spot. And you guys have had these incredibly acclaimed matches, but certainly personal issues create some very epic confrontations. It's not so much, is the match going to be great? We already know that. Coming up here, Bound for Glory in Chicago in October. Impact Wrestling. Get your tickets, get all the information, get the stream. I want to know this question. How does it feel if you defeat him? How does this feel for you now, defeating this guy with this acclaim, Tokyo Dome, AEW, all those different things, right? How does this feel for you beating this guy in Impact Wrestling at Bound for Glory?
It would just feel normal. I mean, the expectation for me right now is that I will beat Will Ospreay, and I wouldn't be taking this match if it wasn't. Will Ospreay is... I know that's a subjective notion, right? But is there anyone in the world really that's having matches that are as good as Will Ospreay? And that has been
hard question to say no to. It's like,
just as long. That's right. But there's a lot of guys that are, arguably on the same level, but no one has been doing it as consistently. And Will Ospreay, he goes all around the world, insane schedule, and every time. And I mean, one of the best wrestlers in the world, right? Which I realize is subjective, but to me, Will Ospreay is the best wrestler in the world, and I think that I fit right there with him in that branch. And it's a very subjective notion to begin with, and it's even hard to be, unbiased when talking about yourself, but every chance that I get to prove that I am of the same caliber, I do it. I was in the Best of Super Juniors this year, made it to the semifinals. I lost to Master Wato, who went on to win it, but at a coin toss. And any loss I've had against any world caliber opponent was loss at a coin toss. There are no matches that I could not have won, and I'm certain that I can beat absolutely anyone in the world. There is no one that I cannot beat, and that certainly includes the person that is, in my opinion, aside from me, the best wrestler in the world, Will Ospreay.
There we go. Coming up here in October. You can get all the info at impactwrestling.com. Speedball, they want to follow you. Where do they go? Not the fake accounts, because everyone has fan accounts and different stuff like that. I want the official accounts. I want to know where I'm supposed to go to get all the direct from you goodies on social media.
I'm at Speedball Bailey on Twitter, Instagram, it's still Twitter, right?
Yeah, we're still calling it Twitter. We're not calling it. The X thing is not caught on yet. No.
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Speedball Bailey. I'm also on Twitch, where I stream to watch wrestling. Twitch.tv/SpeedballBailey. I have a YouTube channel, Speedball Mike Bailey. But if you would like to support me, the best thing you can do is go on the Impact YouTube channel, find any Speedball Mike Bailey match that is on there. They have a ton of great ones for free, including my hour-long match against Josh Alexander. Watch it, and if you like it, then please share it.
There you go. Simple. Sharing is caring. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Good luck with everything.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.